Hello, and welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of more than 20 years, self-proclaimed fluffy bunny, lightworker, and busy witch. Here we will talk all things witchy, including my personal magical tips and tricks, busy witch hacks, and real talk about current metaphysical happenings, which wouldn't be complete without my snark and unique way of looking at the world. So brew some coffee or tea, sit back, and let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 88 of Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy, and today I am talking about the magic of fun. Yes, I am going through a huge transformation right now, and as I'm going through this, I definitely want to share my experience here on the podcast because I am having a lot of awakenings, I'm having a lot of realizations. And I think it would be really fun as I go along to share where I'm at on my journey and share any wisdom or insight that I am gleaming as I go through this journey. I am currently at a stage where joy and fun keep popping up for me. So that's what I want to focus on today, the magic of fun. So just to give you all like a little bit of backstory, this all started a few months ago when I had some signs that I was to work with a particular goddess. Now, I do a great job on the podcast, social media, all of our outlets of being very transparent with you all and being very open about certain things. Of course, I'm still a spiritual being, and my spiritual journey or different aspects of my spiritual journey are still my own. So I hope that it can be respected that while I'm definitely here to share a lot of insight and a lot of my journey with you all, there are still parts of it that will remain my journey. Okay. So I was called to work with a particular goddess. And as I dove down into working with her, I started to uncover fears that I had deep down. This goddess is one that a lot of people do work with for shadow working. So as I was working to bring these fears to light through meditation, through journaling, through other spiritual aspects of work, I realized that I was on autopilot. My routine had become very mundane. I basically would wake up, do a workout that I hated, go to work, go home, go to sleep, wake up, do a workout I hated, and rinse and repeat. And that had been going on for probably months. My magical work was also on autopilot. I had the same intentions every new moon because nothing manifested for me during the month, or the things that I had set my intentions on at the new moon didn't manifest in that month. So I was setting intentions and then giving them a boost of energy on the full moon, and nothing changed. So I was like, okay, well, I guess, it needs more time. So I would set the same intentions the next new moon, add a boost of energy at the full moon. And again, the thing that I was attempting to manifest did not manifest. Now, looking back, like as I was going through this realization, through this awakening, I realized that my intention setting and my boost at the full moon were both uninspired. I was just basically going through the motions. Like, okay, this month, this is what I will set my intentions to achieve, and this is how I'll do it. And that was probably the energy that was associated with it. Okay. So it was not really a big surprise that it never manifested, or at least it shouldn't have been. But these were all things I didn't see while I was going through it. I only saw afterwards when I'm going through this realization and kind of doing this internal check on myself and how I've been living life for months. So as I continued down this path, illuminating all this shit, I realized that just about every aspect of my life was on autopilot and was on a routine. And I mean every aspect, work life, home life, my love life, my self-care life, my health journey, my health and wellness journey, like all of it was on autopilot. And it was so boring. And like I was getting shit done because I'm an adult, and if you go to work, you get shit done at work, whether or not you're happy about it, you get shit done. But there was no joy or there was no fun about it at all. And so all of this started to come to light for me around the beginning of the year. And I kept it all to myself at the moment because I was still processing it. And I was still going through it. I didn't really know what to do about it. I didn't really know how I wanted to proceed. And I was still in the phase where I was just collecting data, basically. Like, okay, let me continue to shine the light on these problems, and therefore I can get the best big picture that I could. Okay, so that's what I was still in this phase of collecting information, collecting data, and shining light on all this shit and having these realizations, but I was keeping it to myself. As I was going through this awakening and these realizations, a few things simultaneously happened that made me really realize and pinpoint exactly what was happening in my life. Okay, so number one, I came to realize I hated certain aspects of my routine. I hated it. I don't know why I was doing it. And I just kind of one day woke up and was like, I don't want to fucking do that anymore. Like it was things that I didn't have to do, but I thought at one point I wanted to do, or I wanted to do them. And I thought this was the way that it needed to be done. And I fucking hated it. So I had that realization, like my routine, my daily routine is filled with things that I think I have to do, but I'm doing them in a way that I fucking hate. Okay. Number two, my business coach proposed the idea of making work fun again. And I thought that that was a little weird because I was like, oh no, we have lots of fun here. We're always laughing and joking and like the energy here is absolutely great. And she's like, no, like, but do you have fun with your work? And I'm like, oh, okay. Then Megan, our creative director, we were talking, I don't even know what we were talking about. I cannot remember exactly what we were talking about, but I remember the phrase that came out of her mouth. And she was like, have you ever thought of like Marie Kondoing your life? And if you don't know who Marie Kondo is, she is a Japanese organizer who basically says like when you're cleaning things out, hold it. And if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. And that's her whole philosophy. So if you're holding this thing and it doesn't spark joy in you, just get rid of it and move on to the next thing. And that's how you declutter your life and you surround yourself with only things that spark joy for you. So we were talking about something and Megan randomly says to me, have you ever thought of Marie Kondoing your life? And I was like, whoa. And then number 4, my teenage son, he's 18 years old. He doesn't like there's things in his life that he cares about, but on a grand scheme of things at 18 years old, how much do we really care about anything? Not a lot, right? We're talking about something different. And again, because I'm keeping all of this to myself. So he and I are in some kind of conversation and randomly he just says to me, Mom, why do you continue to do things that you don't enjoy doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, here's my 18-year-old son having me question huge life decisions or the way that I'm living my life. So, like I said, I was basically struggling silently with my whole everything that's going on internally. Like as I'm going through this awakening, as I'm going through this realization of how my life is on autopilot, I'm keeping it to myself and I'm not voicing it to people. And here comes 4 different things, from 3 different people and then myself that all coincide with this idea of fun and this idea of bringing joy to my life again. I basically took all of these things as signs. And yes, I've even done a podcast episode in the past about like, when is a sign not a sign? Okay. But to me, these were signs. These were things from people. They were messages, but they weren't just from the person. They were from something bigger because none of these people knew what I was dealing with internally. Okay. So I took all of these messages and I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to change up my routine. I dropped things that I hated doing, or I changed them to be more enjoyable, like my workout routine. I stopped and thought about things before committing myself to them. Like basically, if somebody proposed something like, hey, do you want to do this? Or can you handle doing this? I would sit there for a second and be like, that sounds miserable. I'm going to decline. Or like, no, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I shifted my perspective at work and at home. And overall, I started to make my day more enjoyable. The results were crazy to me. So I became more productive at work, especially when I delegated things out that, like, yeah, I could do. There was somebody else that works for us that could also do it. But I was like, no, I want to do this. This is going to be fun. And then it sat on my to-do list for a month and never got done because I had to realistically look at it and be like, you know what? That doesn't bring me joy. So I would delegate out, and the people that I would delegate out to had a great time with it and had fun with it and created beautiful things. So that worked out. I finally started seeing results on my health journey. I started creating again, like being artistic, creating things, adding that little bit of fun back to my work, to my personal life, to my day. And overall, I just found that I was less bitchy. Like if I am telling it to you straight, that is I was less bitchy. You know, let's put it as it was. So this does not apply to responsibilities. Okay, I am not saying stop paying your bills because it doesn't bring you joy, or stop showing up for work completely because it doesn't bring you joy. There are things that you have to do in life. But what I am talking about are the things in your life that you don't have to do, but you're doing anyway because you're on autopilot. These things don't bring you joy. Maybe at one point they did, but they don't bring you joy anymore, but you just continue to do them over and over again because it's what you're used to, or because you don't want to wake up and realize that this task, this thing that you've been doing is draining you instead of inspiring you. How can you spice those things up? Like the things that you have to do. How can you spice them up a little bit? That was one thing I had to ask myself. So this episode is titled The Magic of Fun. So how does all of this apply to being a witch? This is a question I have for you. If your witchcraft practice isn't fun, then why are you doing it? That is a real question. If you are not finding joy and fun in your spiritual practice, especially as a witch, then why are you doing it? So a lot of us grew up Christians. We were going to church. We were bored as shit. I know that I colored when I was younger, and my grandma had to bring a purse full of candy just to get me to sit still. I was uninspired. Now, for some, going to church is inspiring and it's motivating for them, and that's why they remain Christians. But for a lot of us who started out as Christians, we would go to church. We just didn't find anything inspiring about the Bible. We didn't find anything inspiring about the sermons at church. We felt drained. We had questions, a lot of questions, and so we were looking for something more. And for a lot of us, that's how we found witchcraft. So we found witchcraft. We were inspired. It was fun. It was magical. Like you had the power of your intentions, your manifestations, your life, you had in the power of your hands. You weren't praying to a God or a higher power to make things better for you. You were doing it yourself. And that is so empowering. And that is why a lot of us turn to witchcraft, because we were given the power of our lives back to us. And we had some fun in the beginning. But if it doesn't stay that way, then why are you continuing to do it? Why light candles every full moon and every new moon and set the same intentions and do the spells if it doesn't excite you and bring you joy? Add that excitement back to your life and back to your magic. And here's why. Excitement and joy raises your vibrational level. A raised vibrational level opens the pathway to things on a high vibrational level, okay? So positive, fun emotions vibrate at a higher level than sadness, depression, anger, jealousy. All of those vibrate at a lower level. So if you send out that excited, joyful, fun energy when you're doing spells, when you're doing rituals, then your intentions are automatically empowered and raised to a high vibe level. Okay, so fun and joy have a direct impact on life and magic. If you're sending things out with joy and fun, they are on a high level, and what you're going to get back are things on a high level. Okay, it may not be the exact same energy, but it's still going to be high vibe energy. So that is how fun and joy have a direct impact on your magic. If you are going through the motions and you don't feel it, which I feel like can be a thing if you just print off a spell that you found on Pinterest, you might be going through the motions, but you're not feeling it, you're not resonating with it, and therefore that spell may not work for you. You've got to turn things personal, you've got to make them yours, okay? The more that you add that fun, the more that you add that excitement, that joy to your magical practice and send it out there, then the more fun and intentions you'll get back to you as manifestations. So at this point, in any podcast episode where I've talked about the magic of something, I would insert magical helpers like gemstones, herbs, that kind of thing. But here's the thing. The beauty of witchcraft is that you can be you, and what works for you may not work for another person. So for me personally, I fucking love labradorite, morganite, and rainbow moonstone. Okay, those, I just love working with them. I love their energy. The energy of those gemstones don't resonate with everyone. So I could sit here and do the research and be like, oh, well, these gemstones will increase joy in your life, and these ones will increase positive energy, and these will increase excitement. But if you don't resonate with that gemstone, it's not going to work for you. Same with herbs, okay? So that is the beauty of witchcraft, is that you can be you. Okay, so you need to find the things that bring you joy in your magical practice. It could be a favorite tool. It could be a gemstone. And that gemstone may have nothing to do with manifestation. It may have nothing to do with whatever the spell is that you're working with. But if that gemstone brings you joy, it's going to add that positive energy to your spell or your ritual. So therefore, I'm not going to share any magical helpers, because you do you. You find the gemstones, the herbs, the candles, the scents, the oils, the tools. You find all of it that bring you joy, and then you're adding your own personal joyful energy to that spell or ritual. Okay? So that's what I have for you all today. I shared a little bit of my personal journey, these realizations I'm having, and this transformation that I'm undergoing, which I'm still going through it. So hopefully, I will continue to have podcast episodes for you all on this, but it is my journey. So I will tell you that is partially the reason why the podcast episodes have been so sporadic lately, is because I've taken some time recently to do an internal inventory of everything that I do at work. and really evaluate what brings me joy and what doesn't. And the podcast very much brings me joy, but I do not feel like if my energy is low, I don't want to record a podcast episode for you all and send it out into the world when my energy is low. So because I've been going through this major transformation, it's basically been going on since the beginning of the year. That's why the podcast episodes have been a little sporadic, because my energy level, just like everyone else's, ebbs and flows. It goes up and down. And I have certain days where I record podcast episodes. And when that day would come, my energy would not be there. And I owed it to myself and to you all to not record a podcast episode on that day, because I don't want you all to be like, I don't know, this podcast episode was kind of draining and I really didn't like it. So that's why they have been a little sporadic. I'm really hoping with this shift that I am inspired more, because that's one thing. I love doing the podcast and I love putting that energy out there, that fun, enjoyable energy. I love teaching. I love taking concepts and putting them into ways that people can understand, whether you're a beginner or you've been practicing for 40 years. And having people be like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love doing. And that's the thing that I can do through the podcast. So if my energy level isn't there, that's why you won't have a podcast episode one week. All right. That's why it's been a little bit sporadic. So I do apologize, but hopefully this episode explains a little bit more why it's been so sporadic. And I do hope that moving forward, because I am hitting this amazing part of this spiritual transformation, that my vibe will continue to be on a level to where I am producing a podcast episode every week, but it may be, every other week, maybe for a while. So I hope you all enjoyed this today. I hope that you found something interesting in it or entertaining. And I do also love teaching and being a part of my Ink Spirit Coven, which is my online learning circle. We're working on fairy magic for the month of April. And so I do know the month of April is so fun. So the first weekend in April, we're going to be going over fairy magic, and we have a live lesson that I teach on Zoom to the members. And they get Book of Shadow pages to go along with the lesson. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to be doing a fairy garden workshop where we're just going to kind of gather on Zoom and we can all make our own fairy gardens. But that's what you get every month. We are doing magical flow for the whole year of 2023. So every month's topic has to do with the energetic flow of the year. And that's why for April, we're doing fairy magic so that you have everything set up for Beltane, which is May 1st. And that's a big fairy magic Sabbath. So every month you get the live lesson with me, you get a workshop with me, and then we do have a Facebook group that is where our community hangs out. They're an amazing group of witches. Some of them are beginners. Some of them have been practicing for over 30 years. They share with one another. They support one another. And it's an absolutely beautiful thing. And I love getting on there every day. And they're sharing with one another. They're saying, hey, I wanted to tell you all about my weekend, like this huge thing that happened to me this weekend. And it warms my heart so much, because so many of us are solitary, and we're solitary by choice or not by choice. We're just not in an area where we can get together with other witches. And so having an online support system has been amazing for so many of these witches and for myself. So if that sounds amazing to you, then you can head to inkedspirit.com, learn more there, and sign up. We would love to have you. Thank you all so much for listening, for supporting me on this journey, as far as my spiritual journey, but also my business journey and everything that I'm doing through this podcast. Just thank you so much for that. And I will see you all again soon. Bye.